Let's dive deeper into the minimum eligibility criteria of each program managed in the Express Entry system. We'll start with the Canadian Experience class. To qualify, you must have at least a year of full-time skilled work experience in Canada within the 3 years before you apply. I'm going to break that down a little further. 1 year is 1,560 hours that you've accumulated over a period of at least 12 months. That equates to 30 hours a week for 52 weeks. IRCC won't count work experience that exceeds 30 hours in a week, so it's not possible to qualify in a period that's shorter than 12 months. You can also qualify with an equivalent amount of part-time work experience. This could be working less than 30 hours over a period of 2 years, or it could be working 2 part-time jobs concurrently for a total of 30 hours a week. Skilled work experience is defined as work experience that you have in occupations categorized in tiers 0, 1, 2, or 3 of the National Occupational Classification System. It's possible to have work experience in multiple skilled jobs and in different tiers. You can work for different employers in different occupations, and the work experience can be cumulative. It's not necessary for it to be a consecutive period of employment for the same employer in the same occupation. Next, you have to demonstrate sufficient English or French language ability. This will depend on the tier level of the majority of your skilled work. For example, if you worked 8 months in a tier 0 occupation and 4 months in a tier 3 occupation, you need to score CLB 7 at minimum in all 4 language test areas. You also have to intend to reside outside of Quebec. You'll notice that there are no education requirements. However, it's a pseudo requirement because without a post-secondary education, it's very unlikely that you'll be invited to apply through the Express Entry system. Next, I'll break down the requirements of the Federal Skilled Worker Program. The Federal Skilled Worker Program has 5 requirements. The first is work experience. You must have at least 1 year full-time continuous skilled work experience in the past 10 years. This experience can be accumulated in or outside of Canada or a combination of the two. As with the Canadian Experience class, skilled work experience is that which you've accumulated in occupations categorized in tier 0, 1, 2, or 3. Full-time is also defined as 30 hours a week and can be a combination of equivalent part-time. In the Federal Skilled Worker Program, your work experience must be continuous. It's possible to combine multiple periods of employment, but it must fall within the same knot code, and there must not be any gap between different periods of employment. You must complete an English or French language test and score CLB 7 in all 4 language test areas. There's a minimum education requirement of high school, but just as I mentioned in the Canadian Experience class, it's almost a requirement that you have a post-secondary education. Without one, it's very unlikely you'll be invited to apply through the Express Entry system. Applicants to the Federal Skilled Worker Program must also demonstrate sufficient funds for settlement in Canada unless you have a valid job offer, which is typically one supported by a labor market impact assessment. Finally, you have to score 67 points based on the program's 6 selection factors. There's a total of 100 points, and this is simply a pass-fail. Factors include your age, level of education, skilled work experience, language ability, and adaptability. Finally, we have the Federal Skilled Trades class. If you have at least 2 years of skilled experience in an eligible trade within the past 5 years, you might be eligible to apply under the federal skilled trades class. There's a list of eligible trades that you can find on IRCC's website. You have to demonstrate your English or French language skills. You need to score CLB 5 or higher in speaking and listening, and CLB 4 or higher in reading and writing. You'll also need a job offer unless you have a Canadian trade certification.